welcome to another episode of Breaking the Guard. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about something that has happened historically many times, and I'm trying to do it right now, which is when everything is starting to trend towards newer techniques in the martial arts world, it can be a good idea to go back in time and pick up an old technique and reintroduce it. The technique that I have been reintroducing with great success is the classic kesekatame neck crank, which is more of a diaphragm compression, but I learned it as a neck crank. You are cranking the neck, so I see it as a neck crank. And what's interesting is that it's been very effective. I've tapped everybody that I've caught in it so far, including black belts, on every attempt. So right now I'm 100% for sit-out neck cranks. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And the way I'm setting it up is also different than I used to. Normally, in the past, I would pass or I would get a takedown, like a head and arm throw, and I would land in a sit-out position already with the headlock, and then I would just go into it from there. Nowadays, I'm doing it differently. I am starting from a side control where I have a cross-face underhook, so like a good top side position, just like I did a squeeze pass and I moved from half guard to side mount. But rather than staying there, I will then knee cut across the belly to the other side. And that gives me a great scoop because I already have the very deep crossface around the head, and I already have the other arm, the elbow that I need to control super deep. So when I go into the kesekatame from there, or the sit out, now I'm in a very strong position. And I've been able to finish my cranks there very easily. So I'm trying to find more ways to get into that position. And I've been doing it. I hit one from half guard as well, where I went from a half guard cross knee cut and was able to do that also. And basically, because most people feel when you knee cut without the underhook on the far side, that you're making a mistake. So I think it works to my benefit. Because I tell people, when you're in a sit-out or kesekatame, everyone thinks the most important thing is to hold the head up, and it's not. The head is almost inconsequential in my opinion. The main thing is controlling the elbow on the side that you're on, because the elbow is directly controlling the shoulder. And that's the main thing you're trying to control. If his shoulder remains frozen to the mat, he will not be able to recover as far as escaping, getting back on top, and very difficult for them to take your back if that shoulder is pinned and you're not doing anything silly like getting your hips too high or whatnot. But I don't want to get too far into this rabbit hole about sit-out neck cranks or kesekatame, diaphragm compressions. Like the point of it was that that's a very old technique. In fact, it was one of the first moves I learned how to do and I was decent at because I came from wrestling, right? So it was an easy progression to go from that into from wrestling going into like a sit-out position and just cranking on the head from a headlock. But I haven't done it in probably like 10, 15 years, at least. Probably more, honestly, probably 20. Why? I'm not really sure. I know around like the early 2000s, I stopped using it a lot. And I think it's because it's not the coolest move to do in training. And neck cranks in general are not fun to do to training partners because A lot of people will refuse to tap to them, and they end up getting hurt. Because people think neck cranks are unreal. They are very real. And the one that I'm talking about for Kisakatama isn't so much, I mean, it does crank your neck, but that's not why you're tapping. You're tapping because I'm getting my side of my lat and my torso just slamming into your diaphragm right in the solar plexus area. And I'm pulling your head up. So now, like, you're fully compressed. You have no way to relieve the pressure. It becomes very hard to breathe. And it's one of those that if you're not used to, you might give up on early, because this is a submission that you have to cook them in. You have to hold it for at least 10, 15 seconds. If you have them good, they might be tapping within the 10 seconds, but sometimes it might take 15 seconds, or maybe even 20, before like the effects really start to set in. But fortunately for you, it's an easy position to hold. You're not really squeezing anything too hard. You're just kind of holding and maintaining posture. But the point being that one is not too heavy on the neck, although there is some neck compression. But other neck cranks that I've also was quite successful in was just like your classic figure 4 front rear naked choke, if you will. I've caught black belts in that and tapped them, but like from my closed guard, mind you. But what ends up happening, the one I remember in particular, I got him, I cranked it, and I just heard his neck go before he tapped. I was like, oh dear God, like he's not going to be looking left or right for, at least a few days if he's young, or a few weeks if he's older, So, and that's with a black belt. You can imagine with white belts, and just people are not too familiar with it. You don't feel a lot of pain. You just tightness, and then things start to crack. And I felt like, well, I know I can do this. I don't want to abuse this too much. And I just stopped doing it. And I think at the time I started advancing other parts of my game. Like I was getting good at doing ankle locks, and that was novel in the early 2000s. But I let go of a part of a game that was very effective for neck cranks, and in general, just this Kessekatame position. And I looked back and I remembered, I think I did it by chance recently. And I was thinking, why am I not still doing this? It still works. And then I started actively looking for it. And I'm catching it, like I said, 100% success ratio currently. And mind you, by the way, if you're interested in what I call that cross hip frame from mount, still 100% to this day. All right, it hasn't failed me once. It's incredible. Anyhow, if you've been training in this sport for a long time, which I believe most of you that follow me are veterans, so to speak, you probably have parts of your game that you have parked on the shelf somewhere, collecting a lot of dust, and they may be the source of a hidden treasure. You might have something that is very effective that you just stopped using. Sometimes, like in my case, it was too effective, and you just didn't want to abuse your training partners anymore. So you felt like, okay, I picked it up, now I'm going to focus on something else, but then you just totally forgot about it, and now it's collecting dust and it's getting old. But what's great is that you can just grab that thing from the shelf, dust it off, and start using it again. And with your new knowledge and experience, you're likely to find new applications and perhaps better ways of utilizing that technique or position or guard pass or sweep or whatever it is to enhance your game. Even when we look at the leg lock game right now, people just started I've talked about this for weeks now, about the Aoki locks being crazy, but the starting position was the straight ankle locks, which are also doing quite well now. Like people are getting straight ankle locks quite a bit besides the Aoki locks, because they're using the straight ankle lock to threaten the Aoki lock and vice versa. And straight ankle locks are old, right? They're very, very old techniques. But people are applying them a little differently. And I'm not talking about the yoga lock, even the classic straight ankle lock. You see now there's a lot more twisting with the straight ankle locks. Rather than focusing on this extension here, like doing a guillotine motion the old school way, you'll see a lot of people are starting to twist with the straight ankle lock, which gets a little bit of a toe hold type pressure, getting some knee torsion in there, and the ankle, it doesn't feel great. Like it's also quite effective. So it adds a little flair to something old, right? And they're not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but they're learning a new way how to use the wheel. And that in itself is novel, and it makes it very good. So if you are wanting to be the guy that's on the cutting edge, and I do, right? But I look at certain things, I'm like, I love this leg lock game, as far as like, that's how my early success was credited in a big part to ankle locks and heel hooks and knee bars. But the modern game, not as friendly to me, because I'm not that flexible and my knees don't have that much room to move around. And I see the leg lock shootouts, I don't like them. I don't want to be a part of them. So I'm probably not going to steer in that direction, right? So I think to myself, how else can I be on the cutting edge here without doing what everyone else is doing right now? Because that is being very well explored. So I don't feel like I'm going to make a lot of headway in there, and I don't feel like I have the particular assets that will make me very effective from those positions. And that's how I came about. Well, I stumbled upon, the kesekatame headlock position, with a neck crank. And then I started thinking other things that I can do of that spirit, and then obviously neck cranks in general can be done as well. So now I have different things that I can play with. I'm sure my training partners wouldn't like him, but those who I have found so far to be very effective. And I'm just bringing back something that I stopped doing, and I'm going to start redoing. And there's nothing stopping you from doing the same. Just think back to when you first started doing jiu-jitsu, grappling, or MMA, whatever, and things that you were pretty effective at and stopped doing. And then ask yourself, why did I stop doing it? And what's preventing me from reintroducing this technique and getting good success from it? That's my tip. I think there's a lot to be explored there. And don't just think of one aspect of the game. Like in this case, I was thinking about a submission, right? But I could be thinking about a guard pass, a sweep. I could be thinking about takedowns, escapes, right? Any of these things that were very useful for you in the past, and you've given them time to collect dust, and particularly when you notice no one else is doing them either, right? The last person I can recall of note that used a kesekatame neck crank was Josh Barnett on Dean Lister. And obviously that was a big scalp to get. Dean is notoriously difficult to tap. And Josh was able to catch him. But I haven't heard of anybody else doing it since then. I think, there's one guy, he was on the reality show, the Sultan of Strangles, I think he called him. I think his Instagram handle is Cool Rack or something like that. And I know he was big on those, and he did catch a few of those on that show. But other than those two people, I can't think of another person that's gone for it. So it's curious to me, right? But that's a reason why I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot to be ventured there, I believe. And I posted a video of me teaching it maybe a few weeks ago. So it's something that I haven't been doing this for a very long time now. It's just been maybe, honestly, just like a few weeks, maybe a month at most. But I'm catching people with it every training session multiple times on different people. So I feel pretty good about that. And as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about other aspects, because that was a submission aspect. And now I'm thinking, what are some takedowns that I used to do that I was really good at that I'm not doing now? What are some sweeps or guard passes I used to do that I'm not really doing now? And with the additional filter that no one else is doing either. All right? Because I used to do lots of knee cut passes. That was almost the only pass I did back in the day. I still use it now, but not that often. I find on higher level guys, it's just harder to do. You need a good setup. When I have a good setup, I hit it. Generally, if you've seen me teach before, if someone sits up from a butterfly guard, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna get underhook knee on the chest, bam. And that's usually a money one for me. But outside of that, if I'm going for it, it's probably because I'm trying to do something else. And that's going to be my step one to get the knee shield to come out. And then I'm going to play off of that. But besides that, a lot of people are using it. So I'm like, okay, that's not something that's particularly novel. But I already have a few things in mind. I'll keep them to myself for the time being. And when I start using them, when they start working again, I'll make sure to share them with you and tell you. But we'll keep it short today. There's no UFC this weekend. And I talked about that on Friday. So not much to watch on big organization MMA, but there was a lot of MMA going down yesterday. There's a lot of grappling going down yesterday. I watched some of the grappling. I think there was an EBI tryout or a 10th Planet Duels. I saw some of that. But the 10th Planet Duels are a little crazy. It's a lot of buggy chokes, I was saying. But yeah, we'll keep it short today. I'll leave you with that nugget and a homework assignment. Look into your past and think of stuff that you used to do quite often that you stopped doing and you were really good at, and start trying to bring it in, particularly if it's something that no one's doing anymore. Like, people have forgotten about that, because chances are you're going to have a lot of success because you're going to be reintroducing something that people think doesn't work anymore, or some people have never even seen.